everybody, it's time for the crazy hour. So if you're not into magic and occult and all that shit, this is kinda your warning to just leave the video. I am fully aware how batshit insane half of my topics sound like, but hey, I am not the only person engaged in it, and I am allowed to share my opinions when it comes to these things. So today's topic of the video is don't fire up the grid. um, how this started. I stated it on Twitter, and I stated it specifically to one of my friends that one thing that I absolutely can't stand is light workers. Like, if you identify as a light worker, my attention span drops to 25% of what I have normally have given you. Or I just absolutely assume that at some point you're gonna make a wild assumption about me and outright go into hate mode or ignore mode, which is how half of them work. They seem to be very convinced about interesting ideas on warfare and demons versus angels and these people, if they deem you to be bad, they will because they believe to be good. This is the biggest issue. They will try everything in their power to bring you down because they feel like it is their righteous responsibility to do so because you have now been put into the camp of bad, and bad things are bad. So anyways, as the topic was going on about light workers, my friend was like, oh, don't worry, it has been happening for a very long time, and they have always been like this. And she dropped me into the website of Fire the Grid, and wow, that like immediately sent off all the red flags to me. So let me just give them a quick introduction. This isn't like... Yeah, I won't. Worldwide Meditation and Celebration event on January 13th, 2022. Oh, there we go, 61 days. I was like, 1 day. What happened? Did I just sleep past a couple of months? Because if so, I have bills to catch up on. Now I'm really worried, but no. 61 days, not 1 day is good. They have a lot more descriptions, and they expand on the text a lot more, but for what I need, this is enough. The light beings came to me with a project called Fire the Grid. They said, what you did for your dying sun, you can do for a planet. They indicated that each one of us is an energy being, first and foremost, and that we as energy beings are attached to a hexagonal grid that surrounds and works through the planet. Each one of us has one hexagon in that grid. Nobody can get another hexagon. You have one hexagon, and you're either feeding that hexagon with light or you're drawing light from it. So every choice that you make counts and matters. In 2007, we organized the world's largest mass meditation event ever held, with millions of people participating to reconnect the Earth grid to the energy grid of the universe. I wasn't aware that Earth was doing cord-cutting rituals as a planet. That's bizarre, matey. We were supposed to be the bridge that linked the two grids, and we were not doing our job. So the light beings asked us to draw the energy of the universe through us to the Earth to feed her grid, which was depleted so badly that she was in danger of disintegrating. We succeeded. In 2009, we gathered again, but this time it was to send energy back to the universe, and at the same time programmed the Earth field with our most joyful, peaceful, and abundant for all thoughts. When we fired the grid again in 2011, we raised our collective field to assist the Earth as she entered as a light barrier. We needed our energy field to be at the highest frequency in order to pass through without problems, which we did. So, first of all, I know that a lot of atheists and similar people will be like, oh, look at those people LARPing. There's so much fantasy going on. Haha, all them funny kids. But if experience has taught me anything, is that if she thinks that she's communicating with an entity called the light being of some sorts, she probably is communicating with something called something of some sorts. I mean, I have personal communications that my husband would call absolutely batshit bonkers, so I'm not gonna question somebody else's faith, but you see, the issue now here is that somebody approached you, right? And they were like, be my vessel, collect followers, and get them all to direct their energy seemingly nowhere. The Earth grid, right. Let's do it at intervals when all of you consciously expend energy towards seemingly nowhere. Thankfully, I am pretty sure that most of them don't precisely know how to specifically give energy. They just do something that feels good and sit and think about a grid, which is not quite very dangerous, but if you actively want to send your energy and you focus on it, and that is your goal, you can make yourself very sick because you can actually send energy. So the ask here is for multiple people to do this seemingly nowhere. And remember that if you're receiving communications of any sorts, right? One thing that's kind of good to remember is that don't think of other beings as some sort of... I feel like our viewpoint on gods is even twisted. Effectively, we see gods as good. But, this would kind of be like seeing CEOs of corporations as just good. Like, they're a CEO, therefore they're obviously good, which is not how real world works. Just because something comes to you, don't assume that they have your best interests at heart, because practically nobody does. As in, they do when the interests of them align with the interests of you, meaning that perhaps they have a use for you, but don't assume that things are just being nice for the sake of being nice and telling you to send your energy into the middle of nowhere for seemingly no reason, and that being a good idea. Like, don't be gullible. It runs in all worlds, right? But let's just say that instead of energy, we use money in this one. We also use energy, but it's easier to understand that way. And somebody says that for the greater good, without specifying what the greater good is, you should just throw your money into the air and it will go away and good things will happen. And that you should organize many people to do so at the same time. You see my problem. You see my problem. You are what you eat. And you can't tell me that the person that made that statement first was not an energy vampire, because honestly, if I am eating a cabbage and I look down, my first thought is not, you are what you eat. Because at that point, I would look down and go, yep, I am definitely a cabbage, which I am definitely not. It does go along those lines, though. You are. what you eat, energetically speaking, and you have to be quite the low-level being to go, hey, I want them crazy light worker energy. Of all things, it would be like snacking on Walmart, honestly, which some people do, but I don't know how they do it and still stay sane, because if we approach people energy, regular people energy to me is just such oil. It's like the worst thing you can ever scan. It literally leaves you with a taste of oil. So it's things that she's communicating with. They're probably a low being of some sorts. Being in a white robe does not immediately make you a nice person. You know, and it's probably an easy way to harvest some snack. That's what I'm gonna say, because these people are not very trained. They don't know much about what they're doing. They believe that they're doing something for a better purpose because something that isn't human specifically communicated with this lady. And this video of a thank you kind of just drive you are what you eat further.
We all say thank you. Celia asked me what the beings said, and they hadn't said anything. But when I went and checked in and asked what they were doing, I just saw this guy in one of the robes, you know, with the tied things, with the big thing. I've never seen one of them again since that time. And he was looking at me. The robe was over his head, you know, like. and he put his thumb up like this. And then he was on a hopscotch board and he wiggled his ass or its ass, whatever. Thumb up, wiggle, 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 hop, 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 skipped around, put their 2 feet out, put them back in, put his thumb up again and hopped down to the rest of the game. It was definitely a dance. Woo, woo. They were doing a dance and they kept putting their thumb up like this. And I have had to learn to discern from words to action because humans want to know. Right? What happened? Right? What happened?
Yeah, if somebody just like responds to you in butt wiggles, that's not a sophisticated intelligence make. Like, if you are communicating with otherworldly beings, there's actually no reason why you can't interpret, why they can't communicate with you through thoughts, and why your brain center can't translate that to speech. They don't. If you're encountering something that's shaking their ass, that does not a speech make. That's a great example of you are what you eat. So anyways, if you end up doing drugs, psychedelics to be a psychic, or just had some very weird experiences, or you're seeing things and you're definitely not reporting that to a psychiatrist because you're stable enough otherwise. Thankfully, I'm only sensing things, which actually makes me feel a lot more sane, I suppose. I have limited ability to see, but I can sense. I can sense the change in temperature, I can sense the change of pressure, I can talk and receive answers, and I can feel fields. And when it's so sensory and it's less visual and auditory, you're not just sitting there going, am I actually a schizophrenic? Because that would be a thought that would be passing through your brain if you were just actively seeing things. But anyways, if you are on the occult sensitive side and you feel like you got approached by something, and that something is like, hey, beam me up, Scotty. Maybe don't beam them up, Scotty. That might not be in your best interest. Figure out what you're dealing with. Figure out why. Make those decisions wisely. Don't organize mass movements where you send unknown amounts of energy to unknown places for unknown reasons. That is definitely not something that you should be doing. So anyways, thank you for watching, and see you the next time.